everyone. Here we are again, Robin Moser and Associates. Myself, Robin, Victoria, Anna, and we've got Todd here from 2020 Home Inspections. And it's really exciting to have Todd here because we're making Hot Toddies.
Yes, Hot Todd with the Hot Toddies.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Right.
like with the Hot Toddies, with a Hot Todd.
All works out.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to talk about asbestos and how to get rid of it and what you need to know about if you have asbestos in your home. So that's going to be a fun conversation. But we're going to start with making our cocktail first, because that is always how we start our conversations, is with alcohol, because no good conversation started with salad.
Exactly. I feel like I'm wearing way too much clothes for this drink.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's steaming.
So we're starting with just whiskey. And so I've used rye because actually a lot of people don't realize our Canadian rye is actually like world-renowned rye, which is fantastic.
That's true.
So 1.5 ounces of rye, and again we're using Fifth and Vermouth, which I love. And that's actually all the alcohol in it. So then you're going to do 2 to 3 teaspoons, and I'm just free pouring because I am.
The lemon juice.
Lemon juice. Yeah. And then 2 to 3 teaspoons of honey, and we're actually using Anna's honey.
Yeah, local.
Local.
And then
very locally produced.
Anna's honey, like I don't make it, my bees make it.
Which is legendary.
Just saying.
It's a good heads up.
Yeah.
And then hot water. So we've already preheated our hot water. Ooh, this is a hot glass.
Oh my god.
Careful, careful, careful.
That's not the first time she spills on the show.
No.
Just saying.
But it was very hot. I should have thought of that before putting it in that. Next time I'll use something else. Okay.
We are not ready for this
let's try this national
Okay,
Scottish
hold on.
cocktail,
I'm gonna just reach over. Is there a particular one for Victoria? No.
Nope.
Okay.
No, all the same.
Okay, they're all the same. All right.
We're getting her seasoned.
There you go.
Literally.
So we actually did Google the history behind the Hot Toddies, and it is a Scottish drink,
Yes.
right? And Todd, you were saying in Scotland your name means God?
Scottish dog.
Scottish dog.
Yeah.
Scottish dog.
Is a Todd.
Todd.
It's Todd.
Oh.
So
God,
cheers.
Scottish dog. Okay.
These are supposed to be actually really good for when you're sick. So if you're
Yeah.
ever sick, this is a great drink.
Okay.
Good
If you're not
for
feeling
Rome.
well. Exactly.
Right.
It's doctor illness.
It's all right. I can get used to that.
See? Not that bad. Not that strong.
Oh, it's
This
delicious.
this would be great.
It's like a
on
tea.
It is, but it would be great on like a cold winter day.
It reminds me of like Neo Citron.
Actually, yeah, that's a good call.
It does remind you of Neo Citron.
Yeah.
They said in Scotland they use it with scotch to make the scotch drinkable, and then they put the sweetener in it.
You mean drinkable because it's so bad?
No, it's so strong. It's
Oh.
like maybe someone like me created this.
Maybe because she needed to drink with her friends.
Right? It's like, yeah, it's really pleasant, and I can see. I would my thing, less lemon juice, like because I would think I would just put like maybe squeeze some fresh lemon juice and put 1 piece of regular one, and that's it. Because I found it's very lemony. A little bit more honey. And a little bit more booze. So, a little bit of more everything except the lemon juice.
Spoken like a true Anna.
Yeah.
More alcohol.
Yeah, more alcohol. But it's really pleasant. And if you want to like have something like by the fire.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you
not
know,
hot chocolate, not coffee.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit.
exactly. It's you can make like a whole bunch like of it, and bring it outside for all your friends to enjoy.
I will say though that just speaking of hot drinks with alcohol in it, at Zoo Lights they did hot chocolate with Irish cream in it. So good.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I know. So when you're looking at
Yeah.
Zoo Lights, okay,
Excellent.
asbestos.
So let's give a stage to Todd.
I'm going to show what asbestos looks like. So Todd, the picture's on the screen. Tell them about it.
So basically what you're looking at is a zoomed in picture of asbestos fibers. So basically what would happen with a lot of the workers is you would inhale some of that, and the little hooks on the end of it would get caught on your like lung tissue or your nasal tissue, and then that's usually where the diseases and all the health issues kind of came
That's
from.
why, like, we're talking about the products of Christmas past in construction and home industry. That's why we bring this up, because there is still quite a bit of homes, like in Calgary, that have asbestos in it.
Which is an insulating material, hence the Hot Toddy. And
Yes.
the Hot Toddy.
It's a good
Yes.
tie-in.
Yeah. And we are here to educate you about it enough so you can make the right decision for yourself. So let's talk about why did they use like asbestos first?
And where? In
Yeah.
the house.
Okay, so basically, asbestos, when it first came out, it was one of those wonder materials. Like construction was always based on innovation, trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when it came out, it was kind of using pretty much everything as a wonder additive. The guys that were using it loved it and made their jobs a lot easier. And then, kind of fast forward down the road, you later find out that it was associated with health issues. But that was mostly contributed to the people that were working with it 24/7 kind of thing. So the guys in the mines, the guys in the factories. So just because you have it in your house doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world.
Right. And you were saying even if you have it in a house, the only important part to know, if you start, for example, doing renovations, you get the particles of that loose once you disturb it, right?
So basically, when it becomes airborne,
Yeah, when it's
gonna be
airborne,
like health
exactly.
hazard, right?
Yeah, so when it's airborne, when it's friable, that's when you start running into issues. If it's in your ceilings, your walls, wherever it might be, if you left it alone, it's not really a big deal. It's just when you start breaking it down and it becomes airborne,
So
that's when you
when
can run
we're
into
talking
problems.
about renovation, it's
Basically
where the
renovations.
problem comes.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're at home and you're doing something, like just some minor changes, always remember, like, have your mask on, make sure you like clean really well. Don't have your family around while, you're doing anything like this, just to be on the safe side.
But we actually were corrected in our conversations prior to the show that it actually isn't a building material of Christmas past. Why don't you tell everyone what you told us about fireplaces?
Yeah, so in some of the older kind of fireplaces, and by older, like maybe 5-10 years old, usually when you see those glowing embers at the bottom of the fireplace,
In a gas fireplace.
that's asbestos in there. So
it is still being used.
It's not 100% outlawed. They still do use it in some applications where it's deemed to be safe.
Right. So that was a news to us as well.
So where would people, so first of all, the age of the home, because obviously it's not an age, like it is an age of a home thing. It's not going to be in every home. So there's specific ages that it's going to be more commonly found in. And in what location?
Okay. So there's a little bit of a misconception. Age does help you identify it, but a lot of what they found out was it all depended on what the contractor liked using at the time. So if House A and House B were next door to each other, if this contractor liked using certain additives that had asbestos, he knew how it performed, he could warranty his product, he would use it until he wasn't able to get it anymore. So I think it was the late 70s is kind of when they started outlawing it, and then in the 80s is when the government started getting more involved with it. So, just because your house was 79 doesn't necessarily mean you won't have it in there if that contractor still liked using it. As for the materials, it was usually in a lot of drywall. The drywall mud, stipple ceilings would normally have it. They say if you have like a pinkish hue to your ceiling or those sparkles, that could be an indication
I
that
know
you
the
have
sparkles one
asbestos.
really well, yeah.
Yeah, that could be an indication in some of the floor tiles,
Yes.
ceiling tiles that you normally see in basements, insulation around pipes that would normally contain it back then, and then vermiculite insulation in your attic space that could have concentrations of asbestos in it as well.
And I actually have a house, 1932, out in the Crow's Nest Pass, that actually has vermiculite insulation, and there's a good chance there's asbestos in it, but we just choose not to roll around it and keep the doors locked.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good idea.
if you're buying the older house, how you should be tested for asbestos? How
Yeah.
the actual testing is performed?
So basically, you would just get a sample. So if you suspect it's in the drywall, the ceiling, or if you have vermiculite, you would just send samples off to a lab, and I think the closest lab is in Edmonton. So you would just send off the samples. They would tell you, yes, you do have it, and then they would give you a percentage of how much asbestos you have. And then again, if you're just living in the house, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're planning a renovation, maybe get that sample sent off sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because you said it takes minimum on a fast kind of turnaround 2 weeks.
Yeah, if all things considered,
Yes.
everything's in your favor, you could be
So-
looking at 2 weeks, or it could be month and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about remediation? What's the remedies to
So
get rid of it?
So depending on what direction you want to go, you can hire a company to do the abatement where they come in and they're all going to be in full PPE with respirators on. And let's just say in one room you have asbestos, it's nowhere else in the house, then they'll tarp off that room.
So they are taking samples from different spots. You need to
Before you start, So before you start,
Okay.
you'll take your
Yeah.
samples, you send it off to the lab, it comes back positive. it's only in your living room, let's say.
And when you hire a company, it's a full service. They actually do everything for you. You don't actually have to go and start taking the chunks.
Yeah.
But the big scare on that is always cost. Is the cost extreme? Is it something people should plan for to have it professionally removed?
So depending on what your amounts come back as, let's say you have a high amount, then definitely you're going to want to get remediation done on that one, because running the risk of making sure that you get all in, it's all taken care of properly when it's on a larger scale could be a little bit overwhelming and difficult. If it's on a minor scale like a bedroom or attic insulation, then that is something that if you were comfortable, you could do it yourself. Again, proper PPE, tarping off a room, and then a proper respirator is always going to be the best one. And then you could, if you are comfortable, again, handle that one yourself. And then if you do it yourself, whatever proper protective gear that you're wearing, you just have to make sure you dispose of that correctly. You don't just leave it lying in the corner of a room or something like that. Because again, those particles are attached to it. Those can become airborne. And then somebody could potentially inhale those.
And it's probably you can't just throw it in the regular garbage dump. So when you go to the garbage dump, you would have to
You'd have to
disclose.
specify, yeah. And then there's a specific place in that landfill where you would dispose of it. So yeah, you can't just bring it anywhere.
Yeah, and I heard that the cost varies as well, because I know, like, if you do the whole house, they actually tarp the whole house when they do that. Like, I've seen that. And I think that's close to 20 grand. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's, yeah, I mean, if you're doing the whole house, it's going to be up there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you don't normally see that much asbestos in homes where you'd have to tarp off. So, worst case scenario, yeah, you're $10,000.
Right. And again, like, I've seen it, but not like on every block. I might have seen it twice in the 17 years I've been a realtor, where I actually noticed, or I had clients who were doing that.
Yeah.
And then you had a term that you used for when people are affected by asbestos. What is that called?
So the disease with it was asbestosis. And again, that was more so the people that were working in the mines or working in the factories when they were exposed to it 24/7. Those were the people that usually contracted the disease.
So it's kind of unlikely to get it in your own house.
Yeah, like if you were living in your house, you're safe. Even if you were like a random contractor. I think one of our inspectors, his grandpa used to be in construction back in the day. He worked with it a lot. That guy lived to be 90-some years old. And it was old age, not necessarily a health problem.
So again, like, we want to make sure we educate you, because a lot of people started getting scared because they hear the horror stories behind the health issues that this product may cause. But again, like, this is the product that was used because it was innovative. It did perform really well for insulation. And technically, if you're not heavily exposed to it on a constant basis, the health scare is very unlikely. And one thing you also mentioned for the attic insulation, that not all got tested for asbestos positive.
Yeah, so with vermiculite, it all came down to like what mine that vermiculite came from. And then, so some mines had 0% concentration of asbestos, some had a higher concentration. So if you did have vermiculite, again, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to burn the house down and get the insurance money for it.
I think that's called fraud. That's a whole nother show.
We'll just show that later.
Oh, I have a question. If, for example, you have a house and you are aware that you have asbestos there, do you have, and you want to sell it, you don't have to disclose it, right?
Well, so disclosure is always, in my opinion, a timing thing. Some people like to disclose upfront before offers come in. Some people like to only disclose once offers come in. I think asbestos, I always would say, is talk to your lawyer. Lawyers do like to say disclose. But honestly, if you're disclosing at the time of an offer, then at least you're not sitting there and you're having that fight when it comes to the home inspection. So those are the kind of things that I'm a big fan of, is if there's things that you know that are going to cause a house to fall apart in a home inspection, you might as well talk about it during the offer so that it does not trash your deal when it comes to a home inspection.
So, like, from home inspection, like, if you come into the older home, even if it was renovated, like, do you find, do you have the conversation with the client, like, there's potential asbestos, even if it wasn't asked?
Yeah, like, depends on what extent that renovation is. If they stripped it down to the studs and went back up, then you probably don't need to have that conversation. But if some older walls were left up or some older flooring or something, whatever the case is, then we will bring it up. We always say there's a potential to have it, because there's obviously no way we can know for sure just by looking at it.
And sometimes that's what our disclosures are too, is that the house may or may not contain asbestos and the seller is unaware of if it does. but based on the age of the home and looking at the insulation, it is possible.
Yeah.
But if you're a buyer and you have some concern about it, you always better check.
True, but again, so I'm always a big fan of when we talked about age, is when you're looking at specific homes of specific ages that you know certain products were used, that you really should be checking for those products while you're looking at the house. So if you have an issue with Poly B, you better be checking for Poly B if it's pre-1999, 98, right? If you have an issue with asbestos and you want to buy an older house, then you better be looking at things that may contain asbestos prior to writing your offer. If you have an issue with death, I highly recommend don't buying houses on the turn of the century, because good chance someone's died in there over the last 125 years, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Good point.
so there are
Well,
things that you just have to take into account
Yeah,
that
you have to
happen in certain
understand
houses.
that all the properties will have a history and they're probably gonna use some products. So if you're not comfortable of having that, then maybe you should reconsider buying that older property as well.
Well, basically, the longer
Yeah.
something's been around, the more baggage it has.
There you go.
That's how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Todd. I think we've provided a lot of information. If you guys have any more questions about like the home inspections and the materials that used in the home, 2020 is a great company to go to. They have lots of information on their website, and the inspectors like Todd can answer your questions. You also can contact Robin, myself, and Victoria for any of those questions as
Of
well.
course. And if you're looking at buying or selling a home in the next 6 to 12 months, or have a friend, family member, neighbor, or anyone that you trust or care for, make sure they give us a call, because we want to make sure that they're making the best decision possible.
That's right.
But price time.
Okay, I'm gonna try I'm going right into the camera here.
That's okay.
Oh,
So we are giving away
Yeah.
a 1
Got it?
foot by
Got it.
3 foot Brazilian slate charcuterie board, handmade by a stunning 12-year-old girl. And that is our prize this time. They retail for about $145. So
Yeah, so the lucky person, if you like and share and tag your friends on all social media platforms, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Robin
I'm
had way too
failing.
much Hot Toddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like just sitting here
Yeah.
watching you guys.
What did I say? LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Then please, every time your name gets, every time you like or share or tag somebody, your name gets entered to win, and we're gonna be seeing who is the lucky person the first week of January.
And most importantly, our name and phone number is on the screen. So if you're looking for anyone who is buying or selling a home, give us a call. Take a look at our website for all of the great shows we've done in the past. And of course, 2020 home inspections. Thank you so much for being here, Todd.
No worries, guys. Happy
Make
to do
sure if you have any home inspection questions or in need of having someone to come inspect your house, even sometimes the inspections just for kind of knowing how to maintain your house is never a bad idea too.
Yeah.
And what are we doing next week?
Oh, next week.
Yeah, it's still going.
I know. It's Christmas time. We're doing the Picasso Blue Hawaiian, and we're talking about lead-based paint.
Oh,
Okay.
So a very, very tropical drink, which
it's
is
gonna
going
be
to be
interesting
fun.
color.
Exactly. I might wear my Hawaiian t-shirt.
Oh, okay. We'll do the Lua thingies.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
And
excellent.
lead-based paint.
Yes. All right. And thanks for watching again.
Like and share our show. Love us. Tell all your friends. Have a great week.
Take care, everybody.